What's going on YouTube? It's your boy RTY here, and in today's video, I'm here to bring you guys some ST14 Black Luffy. Now, this deck is one that I've been cooking up with one of my local friends for the past couple of weeks, and I gotta say, I do think the deck is a lot of fun. I am hesitant to say that this is a meta deck, a deck that can hang in the meta, but it is one that does surprisingly well against a lot of the top decks. Obviously, it being counterintuitive to Lucci, right, being hard to remove itself. It can also do pretty well against Dofi and stuff like that, and hold its own against a Nell. But it's a very how do I say this? It is a black deck, but it is a fair black deck in a sense. This is probably the best way for me to put it. I do think the deck is a lot of fun though, and with the addition of some new OP08 support like Jack, I do think it is even more better than what it is currently. So without further ado, let's hop into the video. Real quick, before we get into today's video, make sure you guys check out Dueling Guard at duelingguard.com/RTY5. That way you guys get 5% on all your orders. Dueling Guard has a lot of sick products that you can use for all your TCG needs, like these play mats, as well as these bundles that come with nice deck boxes, and in some cases, even custom leaders as well. Again, use code RTY5 at checkout, or go to duelingguard.com/RTY5. See you in the video. All right, so here is the deck list in its current form. Obviously, a lot of this is probably subject to change as I'm tinkering with it, but right now we're running 4 of the 3-cost book. I think that this is the meat and the bones of this deck. First off, if you hit stage and then leader effect, this becomes a 5-cost effectively, which makes it kind of hard for Lucci to remove. Lucci has to use like an Ice Age or a Tempest Kick to get rid of it. And if you're establishing this on turn 3, or on turn 4 rather, that's almost impossible for Lucci to do. He's either not going to have the trash, or he's going to have to do Ice Age Lucci just for a Brook, which is just a lot of resources for it. So it's probably just not going to happen. But if this card sticks, which it should, afterwards we start playing our reduction. That is the base of our game plan. So play Brook, play a whole bunch of reduction, and KO stuff. So obviously, what does our reduction look like? Well, our reduction looks like we're running 2 of the 4-cost Kuzan and 1 of the 10-cost Kuzans. 10-cost Kuzan, I think, is a tech that I've chose to put in this deck because I think it does really well against Lucci, but it also does well against Anel and Bonnie, which were like the 2 decks that I was most concerned about when I was building this deck. Is how do I beat Bonnie and how do I beat Anel? And I think 10-cost Kuzan will help a little bit. Ideally, if you can go something like 4-cost Kuzan into Isho and a 10-cost Kuzan, you have all the reduction in the world to nuke anything on the board, so it's super sick. Suru, our standard 2K, also some emergency reduction if we need it. And then since we are the anti-black deck, we do want to play Borsellino as well to keep that anti-black stuff going. This card just says you can't KO it. It's also really good against Anel, stuff like that. We covered the Isho already, just a standard 2 of. In most black decks, this card just discards hand destruction, which most decks hate, while also giving you constant reduction of -3, which is very strong. And we're playing 3 of the Sabo, very strong card, standard for most black decks. And then 4 Rebecca, pretty standard here. And then we are playing Gecko Moria. Now, there is one thing to say about Gecko, though, is that our Gecko turns are generally a lot weaker than every other black deck because we don't have a way besides Sabo to filter our trash. So we have to be smart about our countering decisions, and then seeing Sabo before we play Gecko also helps. Generally with your Gecko, you're going value, right? You're playing Gecko just to bring back a Kuzan or go Rebecca, Suru, and then play a Brook from hand and hopefully KO something as well. But Gecko is just one of those cards that no matter if you're getting half its value or full value, it's a 4 of in every deck. So very strong card. And then we're running 2 of the Jack. This is 08. So like I said, if our Brook is gone, we do kind of need some more removal. And I think that's one thing I'm finding out in general in this deck. I think right now we have, 8. We have 10 targets worth of removal, but I do think we do need a little bit more. So definitely some tinkering to be had here. But Jack, yeah. This also helps with filtering your trash before your Gecko plays, being able to turn it, cycle, and then KO a 2-cost with I'm sorry, is it a 3? Yeah, 3-cost with all the reduction we have is very strong. Tashigi as well. Another 2K we can find off of Rebecca, some emergency reduction as well. I do think that I might play around with changing out these Tashigis into T-Bones because the -2, it's just too expensive. Like if I have a 2K that I want to do for -2, I want it to be Suru. That said, Tashigis can be reoccurring, and it is a 4-cost with leader effect. So I don't know. They can swing into it. It's just kind of hard to protect. So I'm iffy on the Tashigis, but they feel fine right now. After that, we're running 4 of Sanji. This is just one of our removal. If you have a 6 cost or greater, you put it down under leader, play this, you're popping a 5 cost. You know, you're dealing with the Kaku on curve, you're dealing with the Lucci on curve, you're dealing with so many things on curve. This card's pretty insane. After this, we have Nami. So Nami's a very good card because if you have an 8 cost or higher, including, you know, like, for example, your Nico Robin or any of your big bodies, when you play this, it becomes a blocker and then you draw a card. I mean, it is a blocker, but you draw a card as well. So I think typically what I do, depending on my hand size, sometimes in my Gecko plays, I'll go Gecko into Rebecca. And then if I have a Nami in hand, I'll play the Nami out just to draw a card. If they don't swing into the Nami, it's an additional blocker next turn. And even if it does, it replaced itself in my hand. And hopefully it found me like another 2K or something like that. So after this, we have Nico Robin. This is kind of the meat and bones of the deck, to be honest. This card is absurd when it works. So if you have an 8 cost or above character, which includes itself, if you have stage and a Dawn Under leader effect, -5 to something. So -5 is a ton in this game. So if, say, for example, you played Kuzan on curve, you played Nico on curve, your next turn you go Gecko into Rebecca into Brook from hand or something like that, you're basically just kind of KOing anything. Yeah, because 5 for Nico, 4 for Kuzan, so that's -9, and then Brook does the -1 for the 10. So it KOs pretty much anything on the board with that combo. And even better if there's an Isho just chilling as well. So, and then we have 2 Heracles. This is just funny. Sometimes you just play this off of Gecko, but it's just 2K, and it says give up to one of your black characters with a Straw Hat type +2 until the end of your opponent's next turn. So for some reason, if you need to play this card, this is an activate main. It is viable. And then you have 4 of the stage. Now 4 stage feels bad. Let me tell you why. Because this card is bricky. It doesn't have a trigger like Enos Lobby did, so we have to play it. Now you say, but it plays itself. Yeah, but sometimes, a lot of the times, you play stage, you draw stage, you play stage, you draw stage, you play stage, draw stage. You only need to see this card once. So after you see it once, because it's a static effect, you don't need to see it again. But it feels bad. So it feels bad to play at a 4 because it feels bricky. But if you don't play it at a 4, you just don't see it. And in most, I've gotten comfortable enough with the deck to win games without it. But I will say the difference in quality of games as the Luffy player from when you have stage and when you don't have stage are very different. So, yeah, that's the deck list. Like I said, we're doing some tinkering with it, trying to figure out the right ratios and stuff like that. But this is the gist of it. And deck's very fun. And yeah, let's hop into some videos and show you some gameplay. All right, so here we go. We are playing against Lucci. This is the matchup the deck was built for. We see this hand, it has a Gecko in hand. Normally you would keep this, but we're missing stage, we're missing Brook, we're missing a lot of things. Unfortunately, we kind of find some stuff, but we don't find it all. We do find Borsellino, which is going to be pretty important to this matchup. And we find Nico, which is also going to be pretty relevant. But yeah, not seeing stage or Brook is going to make for an interesting game here, I think. You know, so let's see, depending on our next draw, it's definitely probably just swing 5 at lead, play Borsellino. Wow, he's just gonna choose to play a Brook of his own, swing 5. We're gonna take just because we're still looking for stage and we're not gonna find it. So yeah, definitely just a swing 5, play Borsellino angle here. We need counters. Interesting. Rarely ever do you counter your first life, especially as black and being a 5 life leader as well. But one thing's for sure, when you guys are playing mirrors, whether that's a color mirror or like just straight up mirror, but definitely black versus black mirrors, it is a resource battle. So countering early generally isn't great, but maybe he just felt like since he's playing against the anti-Lucci deck that he needs to try to stay healthy. So understandable. He's gonna swing 5 at life. Can't KO anything. Just waiting for him to realize that can't KO anything. And so we will counter out. And for 4 Dawn, he's either swinging 9 here or he's playing Lucci. Yeah, and he's gonna swing 9. We're gonna take that, obviously, because Borsellino's just gonna kind of win us the game. And then we have potentially 2 here. So we're gonna swing 5 at the Brook. So yeah, are you gonna give us a card for this Brook? it was risky. I think probably incorrect to turn this Brook sideways without a blocker to protect it. So yeah, we're just gonna swing 5 at the Brook again. We should have just played Nico here. I got kind of thrown off guard that he took, because if he didn't take, I was going to play Sanji. So this kind of changes my play a little bit. It's between just developing the body, but honestly 2 Borsalinos is really good, especially since 1 is sideways. If he decides to swing into this Borsalino, I can just kind of comfortably let it go, and probably like play another one, because I am going to my Gecko turn with bad trash. So if he swings into this Borsalino, I can let it go. It's essentially still doing its job as the blocker. So here we go on his 7 Dawn turn. And the cool thing about this deck is I'm always late game a 6k leader, but I'm definitely always a 6k leader, especially when I have a Borsalino on board. So even harder to swing at. So he's going to go ahead and attach 3. Is that going into the Bors? It is indeed. Like I said, we are okay to let it go, but I think we're in a pretty advantageous position, and we need to set up our trash for our Gecko plays. So we will go ahead and counter out, because what's worse than 1 Borsalino swinging at you? 2. So right now we have so much advantage, I think. We can try to establish Nico for our following turns, and I think that's right. We're gonna swing 7 at life. Yeah, definitely correct to swing the 5 first, though. And just keep pushing this advantage. We have board advantage. We have 2 unKOable cards on the board. And we know that most of his turn is going to be spent trying to answer this Nico as well. So swing 7. Because if he doesn't answer this Nico, we just kind of win. So yeah, and then we pass turn. No need to swing the second Bors. I mean, we could, but he does have a Lucci, so like that's just a free swing at it essentially. And I'm kind of low on counter, so we will keep 1 standing just to protect our life in some situations. So going to Tempest kick the Nico. Like I said, has to, and it was a 7 cost actually. So that Tempest kick only brings it down to a 4 cost instead of a 3. So the leader swing is going to take it down to the 3. Helmappa would make it a 0. So he does have it if he has Gecko Moria to be able to KO the Nico. Okay, attaching 2 Dawn, swinging 7 at the Borsalino. It means he's not playing Gecko. Always best case scenario for us here. So we're gonna swing. We're gonna go ahead and counter out. Like I said, just protect these Borsalinos, because these things are gonna just generate so much resources, so much value for me. He's gonna play a Kaku to KO. He has to, and so he's gonna swing 7 at the Bors, which is going to guarantee it. Unfortunately, I don't have another 2k. I think if I did have another 2k, I still would have gave it here, to be honest. But also fine to let the Borsalino go. Since our Nico got outed, we can play Gecko and bring the Borsalino back. It's interesting here. Do we choose Rebecca and grab back the 2k? I think with 3 life, we're feeling pretty good. 3 life and 2 unKOable Borsalinos. And we also become Whitebeard after playing Gecko as well. So we're a 6k lead. We're gonna attach a Dawn, swing 6 here. Let's see if he counters. He does. Then we're gonna swing 7 at it, because remember, I have an 8 cost on board now, so I'm a static 6k, and then with a Dawn under it, I swing for 7. So just debating it over here, and you see the time differences. Like, this matchup's so hard for Lucci. I'm just chilling at 15 minutes left on my timer. He's down to 12 minutes and 45 seconds. So He gives me two 1Ks there. It tells me he doesn't have any 2Ks in hand, which is rather unfortunate for him. I was able to fortunate to draw into a Suru, so I have another 2K in hand. Might be able to protect this Bourse. However, he's on his 10 Dawn turn, so there's a chance he just swings 8 into 6, which I could counter out of. But then he swings 6 again, and I just lose 2 cards for nothing. So let's see what he decides to do, though. I do have a Moria on field, 4 cards in hand. It would take like Ice Age. It would take an Ice Age. Or even a Tempest Kick. Yeah, he does have the Helmeppo. I saw the Tempest Kick. There's an Ice Age in trash. He's going to put Dude on under the Borsalino. We're just going to let it go. Okay, so he still doesn't have the Gecko, which is good for us. Swinging 8. We're just going to go ahead and take. Then swinging 7. Fortunately, we are a 2K lead or a 6K leader, so this is just a 2K instead of 2 cards. So I think we'll just go ahead and give him a 2K here. And for 4 Dawn, I think he's either playing a Borsalino on his own or he's playing a Rebecca here. Just deciding which card is better to counter with. And this is where I was talking about in the deck profile, where I think I value the Suru over the Tashigi here, because if I need the -2 production, then the Suru is cheaper. So he plays a Khalifa from hand, actually, so I was wrong. But that means his hand is bad. Now these are all, and he trashes a Khalifa too, so it tells me he probably cycled for 2Ks. But we kind of have full board clear here. Let's see what happens. I know we're going to swing 9 into this Lucci here. I think he just has to let it go. We're going to swing 7 into the Kaku. Oh, he lets that go as well. So maybe he just bricked up, which means like maybe he kept a Gecko. Yeah. And then we're just going to play a Kuzan, and then we're going to just completely clear board here. And while we're at it, we're feeling good. Let's go ahead and swing 5 at life and then pass turn. Because the most he can swing at us and play Gecko next turn is 7. And we have a 2K. So, makes sense. What does he do here? Finds the Tempest Kick, going to reduce the Kuzan. So Kuzan is actually it was a 5, so it is a 2 cost right now. So it would have to be Ice Age to clear the Sanji as well. But if it is an Ice Age, oh, it is. Then he's not swinging at me, which is a dub. Oh, there goes the Moria. Into the Rebecca, into the Spanding, into the Lucci, and you know, I've seen this all. Spandum, Spanding, Lucci. Come on. Yep. Remember that empty board? He's about to have 5 characters on the board after I just cleared it down to 0. Look at this. This is absurd. One of these black decks is not like the other. Yep, so return 3 CP to play a Lucci from hand. And then pass turn. So this is interesting. I think I have some decisions to make. I can clear this Gecko, but in order for me to clear this Gecko, it would be like 6 cost Nico, into Suru, into Brook, which is 3 cards out of hand. It's kind of too much, I think. So I'm at 2 life. I have a Borsalino standing. I think the best play here is to swing, try to clear this Lucci. He's probably gonna give me the Rebecca, which is fine. Then I'll go swing 5 into leader and then play Kuzan, I think. And then if the Kuzan doesn't get outed, then we are vibing. I know he's went through an Ice Age. I know he's gone through 2 Tempest Kicks. I think the chances of this Kuzan sticking are pretty high. So yeah, we're going to swing 5 of life and then play Kuzan and then pop the Lucci as well. So we're definitely fine. And no real risk of dying next turn as well. So he counters out with the Kaku. Yep, and just pop the Lucci and then pass turn. So now instead of giving a Nico, a Tashigi, and a Brook, or a Suru and a Brook, I get to just play Kuzan, and then if Kuzan lives, I'm KOing whatever I want next turn. All right, he is taking his time. So he does have the Tempest Kick. Lowers it down to a 7. Don't know if this Tempest Kick is him having an answer or if it was just him trying to hopefully draw into an answer. I'm a 5k lead though, so I'm a 5k lead with 1 block. It does make it kind of risky. I mean, 2 life as well. We're feeling fine. So if he doesn't have an answer for this Kuzan, he might feel like he has to go for a game or block her up. Oh, and we're only swinging 5 as well. So his numbers are bad. It's like 5. Yeah, 5. I think we just counter out of this one. And then we can play. What do we play? He's going to swing 8 and 9. We take the 8 here. Oh, he's just swinging 7. Interesting. Well, I'm going to take because we're obviously countering out of this 10. And then we are going to honestly clear board next turn. So going down to 0 life isn't the scariest thing when I have an unblockable or an unKOable blocker and he's only swinging at me 1 max, 1 attack next turn. So we just got to block here. Yep, and just counter out and then pass turn. And then he actually concedes. So let's see what happens if we were to go for game here. I have 3 bodies. I have a 10k, a 9k, a 5, and essentially a 7. So I attach a Dawn. I swing 7. He gives me a 2 and a 1. I could at that point decide to go for game, and I think I would. So it would be another 7 with Borsalino, which obviously would go through. And then 9, or then we would split our Dawn between Gecko, the rest of our Dawn between Gecko and Kuzan, and I think that's guaranteed. So there you have it. I mean, that is the Black Luffy deck in its true form, playing against a black deck and saying, no, you cannot get through these big bodies, essentially. So let's hop into the next one. All right, so here we go. We're going against Kalgara, one of the new leaders in OPO8, so this should be fun. Go ahead and mulligan. We are going second, so at least we have the Brook. Again, no stage. But I don't think Kalgara plays a lot of removal. This is an aggro deck, in a sense. So, yeah, we should be fine. We're just going to swing 8 at life. We obviously got to take that. Yeah, we're just going to swing 6 at life and then establish the Brook here. He hits a trigger. The Earth won't lose, which is draw 2, trash 1. And then just establish the Brook and then pass. So the thing about Kalgara here is he can swing big and still play out a character, but he has to take his life for it. So I imagine he's, yeah, like I said, he's just gonna swing big here. 9. Get a wiper. Yep. And then it does a search in the pass. So we luckily drew into the removal. So we're gonna put a Don under leader to buff all of our characters' costs. And we're just gonna go ahead and play the Sanji to KO the wiper. And then we're just gonna swing 6 at life. It's hard for you to be an aggro deck like this when I'm removing your board essentially. So he finds another upper yard. Which is how the deck functions. It functions off of upper yard. So he's gonna swing 6 at life, take another life, play the wiper, and then do his search, draws another wiper, 6 at life. We don't want to go too low in life, and we also want to set up our trash. We're gonna go ahead and put a Rebecca there, and then he has 5 down up, so he can play another body and start trying to go wide. Oh, it's just a Shura. Drew an Elthor. Alright. So, since it was just a Shura, I only have 2 swings coming at me next turn. I think, and he has a lot of cards in hand, by the way. This Brook's not going to get a lot of value if I don't start playing reduction. So I think we're going to try to get these cards out of hand and then also play an Isho here. Yeah. I get a counter event too. That's even better. For these swings that were never intended to go through. They were just specifically here to start draining hand. So he draws another Elthor. And then we're going to go ahead and trash a Holly and a Kalgara from hand. So we're pretty good. We're feeling pretty good now. You know, 1 Isho in this instance isn't enough reduction. We would love to have a Kuzan in hand. Like a Kuzan next turn goes crazy. So he's gonna swing 7th into my 6. We're gonna counter with a Nami and a Nico. We could play the Nico, especially since we have an 8. That would be the reduction that we needed. But since he took his life, it might not matter here. So let's see what happens here. Has a lot of Don up. He's gonna play some characters. Ooh, he's gonna heal. Actually, that's pretty good. I would have liked to have that Nico in hand now. I'm curious. We could have developed another Isho here. Let's see what we decide to do. I know we have a pretty easy clear into this wiper, I think. We could have developed an, yeah, I was gonna say please R2I. So we're gonna swing 10 into 7, and if for some reason he counters out, which looks like he's doing, sick, we can swing 7 into 7. So essentially we got the same amount of cards out this way, and now we're just gonna play a Rebecca and a Borsalino. Rebecca is just gonna grab back Nami, and then play the Nami, draw a card. It finds me a Kuzan. That always feels bad. And honestly, that sequence probably isn't as good as I think it is, but I mean, in the instance where if he didn't have the Shura, right, I would be fine. He would have to swing into the Nami with one of his bigger bodies, and we're okay with that. It's a blocker that's essentially still doing its job. So he's gonna swing 9 into 9. We are definitely going to go ahead and counter out of that. And he's gonna 300 million votes Amaru, which is so funny because Amaru would hit Rebecca if she wasn't a 5 cost. Since she's a 5 cost, he cannot Amaru the Rebecca. Instead, he's gonna tap the Brook, and he's gonna swing 9. So I have the 2K for it, which basically just guarantees that this Isho is going to live. I mean, I guess he could swing 9-9 into it, which would get him there. So let's see what he decides to do with the rest of his Dawn. I think he's got 4 cards in hand. Oh, he's just gonna swing 8 into life. Gonna let the Isha live. I think he was dead. I think he's dead either way, but I think it's definitely better to just swing 9-9 into the Isha. Then we find 2 of our jacks. They're not gonna matter here. We're going for game. He has 2 Dawn up, and I know he has 2 L-Thors in hand. So let's just try to get them out of hand here. Swing 7 at life. Okay, so these last 2 cards are L-Thor. So I think this is guaranteed unless I like get beiged here, which would be awkward. But I don't think Kalgara is playing anything like that. So do I get the L-Thor here? I do. Yeah. So we're just gonna swing 9 since I know the last card is an L-Thor. And then we're gonna swing 11. That should guarantee get us there. 9. Yep. Wow, he had another one, but he didn't have the Dawn up, and even if he did, we still would have got there. So there you have it. That is Black Luffy. Deck is a ton of fun. I hope you guys enjoy this content. If you do, leave a like down below, comment, and subscribe. And until the next one, I'll see you then. Peace.